Welcome to the Flora Sage Podcast, a place where we help you create a life you're excited about. Welcome back to the podcast. Ooh, I am so pumped for this week's episode. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I actually struggled to figure out what to call this because there are so many different layers of this episode that I couldn't wait to start talking with you about this. I've seen this trend pop up again. Okay, so you've seen the whole quote-unquote book a week challenges circulating around social media, right? So these challenges are mainly for like the quick summer read type novel or like the mindless novels or even self-help books. And recently I've heard of a mastermind group doing the same thing, like a book a week, but with business books. Being a self-help author, I'm all for diversity in your reading materials, as well as also like exposing yourself to a variety of authors and things like that. But I wonder how much someone will actually retain out of reading a book quickly and then moving on to the next book before fully integrating what you've learned or what you've gotten out of the book that you just read. In the past, I was someone who constantly listened to books on tape, as well as having like a handful of books in various degrees of completion. And after many, many years of doing this, I found myself hearing the same thing put like 1,000 different ways. I also realized that when I had like a burning question, I would find myself going to the same core group of books for inspiration or to get the answer to that particular question. And I noticed that I would reread the book and get more out of that same book every time I went back to it. Now, many times over the years, I've had people ask me for book recommendations. And I always ask, when they ask me that question, I ask them, what are you looking to learn or experience? Or what genre are you looking for? And you would be surprised at how many times I would get a blank stare back or confusion back. Blindly reading books for the sake of adding another name to a list is wasting time instead of investing it. I have a whole podcast about spending versus investing your time. If you haven't listened to it, please go listen to it. If you are in the market for a specialized book, whether it be business or finance or self-help, ask yourself, what do I already know about this topic and what don't I know? Or what am I hoping to get out of it? Or what am I hoping to learn about this specific topic? And will this book answer that question? Will this book teach me what I want to know? Now, if it's entertainment or inspiration or whatever, yes, do I want to be entertained? Do I want to read a historical romance novel? Do I want to read a biography? Like, get clear and specific on why you're reading what you're reading, okay? Reading a book just because it's popular is great if you really want what the book is promising. Like especially self-help books. Self-help books promise XYZ. When you read this book, then you will learn how to do this. Or if you want to learn sales, read this book. If you want to learn how to prospect, read this book. If you want to learn how to generate leads for your business, read this book. What if, before you read another book, you ask yourself, what am I looking to experience right now? Is there something I want to learn? Do I want to be entertained, inspired, or educated? What if you revisit one of your favorite books and read it through to master it? When you invest your time wisely, you will often find yourself feeling more content and more complete and not needing or not even having the desire to go read that next bestseller just because it's trending. If you want to get wealthy, study wealth strategies. If you want to get happy, study happiness. If you want to learn how to get more leads for your business, study lead generation. If you want to learn about intermittent fasting, read a book about intermittent fasting. It's that simple. Being mindful of your choice of book. Like if you want to get happy, okay, Google how to get happy or books on how to get happy. You're going to have probably dozens and dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of books on happiness. Okay, perfect. What part of happiness? What part? Do you want to look at the psychological part of happiness? Do you want a book that spells out, 25 ways to be happier? So get extremely intentional on what part of happiness you want to tackle or focus. If you want to learn how to invest, take into account what you already know and what don't you know. Where are those gaps? And start to do a little bit of research. Then when you pick that book, then all of a sudden, you're going to be looking forward to it every chance you get. You're going to start to devour it the way that you've devoured a book like you've never devoured a book before. You're going to actually dig so much deeper and get so much more out of the books that you read. Yes, there are times in our life when an abundance of volumes and information and knowledge is necessary, where we feel like we know nothing about a topic. So we want to literally soak in as much as we can. By all means, if you're in that phase of your life, go for it. But I promise you, there is a time when you will start to hear the same thing repeated over and over and over and over and over again, but in a slightly different way from a slightly different author. That is when you stop and you regroup and say, okay, so this is my knowledge base. What do I still feel like I'm missing? What do I still feel like I don't understand? Then get very specific and very intentional. So the next time you reach for a book, make sure your choice is a conscious, intentional choice. And notice how much richer your experience is for you. Time is the only thing you can't get back. Invest your time in things that make your life richer and give you the keys to unlock those doors you want opened. So with that said, I have a challenge for you. Knowing what phase of life that you're in, what your priorities are in your life right now, I want you to think about the next year of your life. Where do you see yourself in 1 year? What are you hoping to accomplish within the next 12 months? Now here comes the challenge. What 3 or 4 books, if read, studied, and mastered, would completely change your life? What 3 to 4 books, if read, studied, and mastered, would completely change your life? If you were to only read those 3 to 4 books over the next year, you read them over and over again, you work them, you master them, you study them, you work those concepts. Think about it. Where are you at 12 months from now? Where do you envision yourself at? Where do you hope to be? And I want you to take an assessment of where you're at. What skills and tools and abilities do you currently possess? And what skills and tools do you feel like you do not yet have or that you have not yet mastered? Seek out 3 to 4 books that will help you fill in those gaps and help you master them so that this time next year, you can come to me and say, Flora, oh my gosh, this completely changed my life. Think about that. I know for a lot of people this is scary, myself included. When I did this the first time, I was like, oh shit, here we go. And I instantly felt FOMO. I instantly had that fear of missing out, like, oh my gosh, like, there's still so many books that I haven't read. Now, I'm not saying don't read for pleasure. Like I love historical novels. I love like World War II books. One of my favorite books that I've read recently is D-Day Girls. Fabulous. It talks about the French resistance and how women were completely overlooked by the Nazis, and they were able to help overturn and help win the war. It's fabulous, 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 fabulous. So, but I'm talking for knowledge, for that self-improvement, for that betterment of who you are now and who you want to be in the future, especially if you're a business owner. Really ask yourself, where are my gaps? What don't I yet know? Where do I feel like I'm struggling? And do research. Don't just jump the gun. You're not just reading the book to get general information. You're reading for mastery. You're reading to embody the concepts of the book. That's why you need to be strategic about it, because the energy of the author is permeated in the energy of what you are reading. So give yourself permission to walk away from this book a day or book a week challenge and say, I value my time enough to be more strategic with it. I value my time enough to be intentional with the books that I read. This is one of the things that I talk about frequently, especially with my private clients, about clutter. There is mindset clutter. There is clutter in our daily life, and having that pressure to read a book a week because you're in a mastermind group that's reading this random book, or this book club and you're really just not vibing this book, but you're like, I have to read it because I'm part of this book club, and yet, no, you're wasting your time. You are literally throwing your time away. Get rid of that clutter, get rid of that nonsense, and be more strategic. What do I want to learn? What do I already know? Where are my gaps? What don't I know? And some of you might argue, well, that's why I'm reading all these books, because I don't know what I don't know. So I'm listening and reading to all these books so that I can figure out what I don't know. Take an assessment, take an inventory, and then say, where am I struggling? Is it struggling to, I know all of this, I just can't make it stick. Okay, research that. Google is your best friend right now. I know how to intermittent fast. Why can't I commit to it? It could be habit, learning about habits, figuring out how to create new habits. Again, what 3 to 4 books would completely change your life if you were to read only those for the next year? Remember, all it takes is a clear vision of what you want and the willingness to take a small 1-degree shift in that direction daily to get a life you love. I hope this serves you today. I love you, and I will see you in the next episode. If you're enjoying this content, which I hope you are, and you're applying this knowledge in your life and are seeing results, I would love to hear about your successes. Click the link in today's show notes, share your success story with me so you can help to inspire others. Also, if you've been loving these episodes, it would mean the world to me if you would rate this podcast on iTunes. A 5-star rating is what I always aim for.